Welcome to Module 2, Assessment Administration. This is a lengthier module and can be broken into 2 shorter sessions or completed in 1 longer session. Module 2, Part A has an assessment overview, assessment resources, finding levels, as well as coding and scoring. Part B has coding and scoring, practice assessing, level reporting, and forming groups. Please read this quote by Fountas and Pinnell. Now, in small or large groups, discuss what you believe the impact of connecting assessment with instruction has in developing efficient and accurate future readers. Pause the video here while you discuss. For the benchmark assessment overviews, decide which kit, 1 or 2, best suits your needs as an assessor. DVDs are available in the kits and contain videos and vignettes as well as additional information. This helps teachers understand the system at a deeper level to ensure fidelity of the program and reduce overall system subjectivity. The following 2 videos both will assist in preparation to administer the benchmark assessment. Please wait for the video to begin, or if you're watching on the actual DVD from your kit, these pathways will help you find the videos to meet your individual needs.
Preparation. This section of the DVD will help you learn how to administer a benchmark assessment from start to finish. Probably, you will give your first assessment at the beginning of the school year. After you get your classroom routines going, which should take about a week, plan to spend about 2 weeks of your daily reading block time completing the assessment. The assessment conference is very helpful at the beginning of the year because it will give you a chance to spend time getting to know each student while engaging him in thinking, reading, and writing. Prepare materials by printing reading protocol forms and assembling materials. Choose a corner of the classroom where you can see across the room and at the same time be reasonably quiet. Be sure that you are conducting the assessment far enough away from the other students you are going to assess that they cannot hear you talking about the stories. You will need enough time, about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on the grade level and the student, to complete all parts of the basic assessment, including the oral reading and a comprehension conversation. You may also elect to have students work on an optional written exercise while you are assessing other students.
First, the student reads a text orally. You start by reading the standardized introduction in a conversational way to the student.
This book is named From Nest to Bird. Okay? Mother bird makes nest with sticks and grass, and she lays her eggs in the nest. Read to find out what she does to take care of her new baby birds.
This standardized introduction is important because it assures that every student assessed receives the same information.
This is Mother Bird.
While the student is reading, observe and code the reading behaviors, including errors and repetitions. The books at levels K to N are longer, so the student reads the first part orally and then finishes reading silently.
Maybe he was just hungry.
Okay, from this point on, I want you to read silently.
During this time, you can finish your coding and analyzing. You can also score the reader's fluency. After the student has finished the oral reading, calculate the accuracy rate. This is important because it will give you the first indicator of whether the text is easy, just right for instruction, or too hard for the reader. Use the fluency scale to assess how the reader uses phrasing, pausing, intonation, and word stress. Reading rate is also a factor here. But remember that the reading should be neither too slow nor too fast.
After the student finishes reading, engage her in a comprehension conversation. This conversation is an open-ended invitation to talk. On the recording form, you will find a chart of key understandings or important ideas that the reader should have gleaned from within the text and beyond the text.
I learned that a butterfly starts off as an egg, and then it goes to a caterpillar, and then it's a chrysalis, and then it turns into a butterfly. And then if it's a girl butterfly, then her children can start the life cycle again.
For levels L to N, we also ask readers to think about the text in an analytic or critical way.
Because he wants to know, like, if we know how it goes in the order.
Okay, how did he represent that?
In the comprehension conversation, invite natural talk and use open-ended probes such as, "Can you say more about that?"
Why is that?
Because, like, it's kind of like a life cycle how they do it. So, like, when you...
Many children are not accustomed to expressing their thinking without teacher questions, but the goal of this comprehension conversation is to draw out students' ideas with as little leading as possible. You can check off the key understandings they express in their own words in the first column on the recording form. However, if they do not spontaneously offer evidence of a key understanding, we cannot assume they don't have it. Sometimes you need to probe for evidence of understanding. In the second column on the recording form, you will find prompts and questions to help you elicit key understandings. As much as possible, use these prompts and questions in a conversational way rather than interrogating the student. Rephrase questions to be sure the reader understands.
What else did they do together?
Score the comprehension conversation by thinking about each area. Use the rubric to make a decision. For levels A through K, the highest score is 7. Score 0 to 3 to rate overall the reader's thinking within the text, and 0 to 3 for the reader's thinking beyond the text. You can score 1 additional point if the reader demonstrates some unusual thing that is excellent but not listed in the key understandings. For levels L through N, add a score from 0 to 3 to indicate the reader's thinking about the text, and the highest score for those levels will be 10. A writing prompt is provided on the recording form for each text.
Let's go ahead and write about the story you just read. On this page, I want you to write about 3 ways dogs help people. You can draw a picture to go with your writing. Okay, here you go.
Writing is optional, but it will provide more evidence about a student's comprehension, and you will learn how the student responds to a text in writing, which is often required on tests.
There are 2 main components of the Fountas and Pinnell benchmarking assessment, fluency and comprehension. These 2 components will be used together to determine a child's highest reading instructional level. To start, you will be prompted to use a reading record sheet to record students' oral reading errors and fluency. The participant will be given a brief standardized introduction of the reading record and how to calculate the accuracy rate, self-correction ratio, and fluency. After the student has read the book, you will then be prompted to have a comprehension conversation where you will use the guidelines on the right to assist in scoring the reader's comprehension skills using the comprehension rubric. Among these guidelines, you will find prompts to be used. The assessor will need to indicate whether or not prompts were used. Using prompts does not impact the comprehension score in this system. After the assessor and student have completed this portion of the benchmarking assessment, the assessor will tally up the number and assess a score of excellent, satisfactory, or limited. This will indicate the reading level and give guidance to either cease assessing or continuing on the benchmark gradient. The assessment guidebook in both System 1 or System 2 kits have a number of resources to assist teachers when completing a benchmark assessment. Please take time to mark the following pages in the assessment guidebook for future reference when assessing. In the Fountas and Pinnell Assessment Guidebook, you will find a Frequently Asked Questions section. Locate the FAQ tab on the guidebook in both System 1 and System 2. Here you'll find answers to questions about benchmark books, assessment procedures, including oral reading, fluency, comprehension conversations, and writing about reading, interpreting and reporting results, teaching decisions, English language learners, and collecting and using data. It would be helpful for the assessor to look over this section when reviewing or going through the KIT introduction. This will help lessen the subjectivity in the benchmark assessment. This slide takes a deeper look into how to use the benchmark instructional levels chart for both systems. The intent is to find the highest instructional level that meets the requirements of accuracy and comprehension within the yellow highlighted columns. Please note that there are subtle differences in regards to the specifications and scoring guidelines between Systems 1 and 2. In System 1, levels A through K, when fluency is 90 to 94% and a comprehension score of excellent or satisfactory has been attained, the teacher would continue benchmarking the student. When the fluency level reaches 95 to 100%, but the comprehension is limited, the teacher must continue benchmarking until the hard level, where the fluency rate is between 90 and 94% with a limited comprehension. At this point, benchmarking can cease. The highest instructional level can be recorded. In System 2, levels L through Z, the benchmark instructional levels chart varies a little bit. 95 to 97% fluency with an excellent or satisfactory score is in the instructional level. When the student achieves a fluency percentage between 98 and 100% but has a limited comprehension score, that will be their instructional level as well. 95 to 97% fluency with a limited comprehension score will put the student into the hard category. Benchmarking can cease at the highest instructional level recorded. Please pause this module to discuss this chart further. It would be helpful to think of different scenarios and talk as a group about when to stop assessing and when to continue. This slide gives the assessor more information about finding the different levels of reading skills, easy or independent, instructional and hard, and is a reminder that there is not a ceiling per se. The assessor must reach the hard level in order to know where the highest instructional level is for the student. Some guidelines are as follows. Do not stop testing at a grade level ceiling. Teachers should continue to test up to find out how each student does at the next level. It's okay to skip a level or two if necessary to find a just right starting point. Students can be proficient at a range of instructional levels. If this is the case, note specific teaching points during the assessment and test to the highest instructional level. Just because we report the highest instructional level a student is successful at does not mean they need to remain there for all small group instruction. Teaching during small group instruction does not always have to occur at the highest instructional level. Teaching can happen in an independent level as well, and teachers can pull students in flexible groups depending on skills not yet mastered. Here is an if-then chart for finding the easy or independent, instructional, and hard levels of the student. This chart can be found in Assessment Guide 1, page 32, and in Assessment Guide 2, page 33. Take a few minutes to look at this chart and discuss its uses. Fluency is not included in determining a benchmark assessment level. However, a student's fluency is important for instructional decision-making. Consider this question and answer from Fountas and Pinnell. Spending time at a lower level or two for the sake of building a more firm foundation in fluency may be what is needed for the students in this scenario. Even though fluency does not impact the student's reading level alone, it is an important element to consider before moving a student forward or beginning instruction at a level that is too difficult. Fluency will be discussed in further detail in Module 3. By using the assessment guides and the DVDs that are provided, this system allows for what I need training when the assessor needs it. These materials are helpful for refreshing and refining your knowledge and skills on taking and scoring reading records. The following video is on assessment procedures, specifically scoring, analyzing, and interpreting reading records.
Scoring, analyzing, and interpreting. For levels J and above, you may want to measure reading rate. If you are using the F&P calculator stopwatch, enter the number of running words before you start the reading. After your introduction, the child will start reading, and at that time, start the timer on the stopwatch. Or you can record these times on the form. When the child reaches the end of the oral reading, stop the timer. The calculator will give you the reader's rate in words per minute. While the child reads, code the errors on your recording form. You can learn how to code oral reading in the tutorials section of this DVD. When the child finishes the oral reading, you can also count and enter the number of errors. The calculator will give you the accuracy rate. Another way to get the accuracy rate is to use the graph at the bottom of the coding form. Remember that the number of errors a child can make before going below 90% accuracy, or 95% for levels L through N, is printed on the front cover of the book. That will help you keep track of the errors so that you will know when to stop testing because you have found the hard text level for the child. The reader's fluency is scored using a rubric that ranges from 0, representing low fluency, to 3, representing high fluency. The 6 dimensions of fluency rubric, available in the optional assessment section of the Forms book or CD, offers additional guidance in assessing reading fluency. The student's comprehension score represents a total of scores for demonstrating understanding within, beyond, and when appropriate, about the text. Use the rubric to make a holistic decision here. Don't try to count right answers. Just think about the evidence overall. Numeric scores will help you rate the student's reading comprehension as unsatisfactory, limited, satisfactory, or excellent. Count the self-corrections, which are not considered errors. Calculate the self-correction ratio and write it on the form. That lets you know the degree to which readers are monitoring or checking on their own reading and trying to reconcile the text as meaningful and coherent. After you have identified the student's accuracy levels for several books, as well as comprehension scores for the same books, you will need to determine the benchmark independent and benchmark instructional levels for that reader. Record all scores for all of the books the student read on the assessment summary form, from easiest to hardest level. Both the accuracy level and the comprehension scores are important in helping you find the benchmark independent level for that student. This means that the student can read these texts without teacher support. For levels A through K, the benchmark independent or easy level is the highest level the student can read with 95 to 100% accuracy and a comprehension rating of satisfactory or excellent. Be sure that the student can read the words and understand the story or informational text. Students may have read more than one book at the same accuracy rate and comprehension levels, so be sure to identify the highest book level that meets these criteria as the benchmark independent level. If a student is reading at levels L through N, there are higher criteria for accuracy. For the independent level, the reading should be at 98 to 100% accuracy and a comprehension rating of satisfactory or excellent. Now find the benchmark instructional level. At this level, the student can read for meaning with teacher support. For levels A through K, the instructional level is the highest level the student can read with 90 to 94% accuracy and a comprehension rating of satisfactory or excellent. If the child is reading at levels L through N, there are higher criteria for accuracy. The benchmark instructional level is the highest level the student can read with 95 to 97% accuracy and a comprehension rating of satisfactory or excellent. Sometimes a student will read with very high accuracy and low comprehension. In this case, you can designate the instructional level as 95% to 100% accuracy with limited comprehension. At levels L to N, that would mean 98 to 100% accuracy and limited comprehension. Here you know that the reader is very good at decoding words, but needs to work on reading for meaning. Again, students may have read more than one book at the same accuracy rate and comprehension level, so be sure to identify the highest book level that meets these criteria as the benchmark instructional level.
Finally, you can determine the recommended placement level. The placement level reflects your best thinking about where you will begin instruction for the reader. Most of the time, the placement level will be the same as the instructional level, but as you consider factors like fluency and think about the student's actual comprehension scores, you may occasionally make a different decision. Now you have completed the summary form. You know some very important information about the student's reading skills. 1. The benchmark independent level can help you guide student choices for independent reading. But remember that we want students to learn how to choose books for themselves. They do not choose books by level. Instead, they learn to think about what is interesting to them and read a little bit to know if the book is readable. For some students, you may want to present several books at a range of levels you know will be appropriate. 2. The benchmark instructional and recommended placement levels will help you form initial groups and work with students in small group instruction. You still need more information to inform your teaching. Using the instructional level, analyze the student's reading behaviors. You will want to analyze the particular types of errors and self-corrections that students make while reading, as well as their strategic actions. You can learn how to code and analyze reading behaviors in the tutorials section of this DVD.
Scoring and coding errors at a glance is located on the inside back cover of the assessment guide. This reference chart includes the coding symbols and their meanings, as well as what counts as an error or not. Codes and scoring are the same for Systems 1 and 2. This ends Module 2, Part A. Please continue as needed to Module 2, Part B for practicing benchmark assessments and reporting levels.